Come and play with us.
The Shining is the 1980 horror film directed by Stanley Kubrick. It stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, and Scatman Crothers, based off of the book by Stephen King. The film tells the story of Jack Torrance, a writer who moves his family for the winter into the Overlook Hotel. Isolated and alone in the empty hotel, Jack begins to experience a ghostly presence of evil, while his psychic son Danny starts to see horrific violence demonstrated in his possessed father. When The Shining first came out, critical reception was very mixed. Most thought it was a traditional run-of-the-mill horror film, and critics slammed Kubrick for his vision of male violence. However, since 1980, critics seem to have completely forgotten their initial reactions and now praise it as one of the scariest movies of all time and praise Kubrick for creating a masterpiece of horror. Martin Scorsese ranks this film as being one of his favorite movies and called The Shining the scariest movie that he had ever seen. The Shining expresses not only a ghastly tale of horror, but the often macabre and Baroque-styled interior of the hotel make this film incredibly deep and surreal. The hotel itself has become something that has puzzled filmmakers for decades. Students are required to study this movie while in film school for one very big reason: the cinematography. The cinematography is incredible, as Stanley Kubrick was one of the best and had an eye for camera work. One of the most impressive shots in the film occurs when Danny is riding his tricycle through the hotel. The camera follows him through the long dark corridors and hallways, which has been skillfully crafted. But what makes these shots interesting is the unexplained spatial layout of the hotel. This was all done purposely by Kubrick. Kubrick wanted the Overlook Hotel to feel like a maze, a psychological illusion for both characters and audience. And the Overlook Hotel set was built exactly for this reason, to play games with the audience's mind, just as the maze does at the end of the film when Jack is chasing Danny with an axe. Another significant thing in this film is Room 237. Room 237 is a forbidden room in the hotel that has a lot of mystery surrounding it. Inside is Jack's incarnate vision of evil, but the room holds something more sinister. Conspiracy theorists claim in a documentary titled Room 237 that Kubrick faked the lunar moon landing, and that the number 237 was the stage door number where the footage was shot. Evidence for this is shown in the hotel carpet, which was the pattern of the Apollo 11 launch pad, as well as Danny's Apollo knitted sweater. None of this is proven or even factual, but the documentary is nevertheless interesting. Kubrick, while being a master director, was known to push his actors. Shelley Duvall was more or less mentally and verbally abused by Kubrick in order to help her achieve the desire that he wished in her acting. Kubrick was infamous for over-the-top takes and strived to achieve perfection with every shot. For instance, the baseball bat scene was shot 127 times to achieve the take that Kubrick wanted. Other scenes were shot in similar fashion. Probably the most famous scene in the movie takes place when Jack Nicholson breaks down the door with an axe. This one scene was shot over the course of 3 days until it was done right, and it is one of the most famous scenes in movie history, with Jack Nicholson's monologue echoing Johnny Carson's opening line.
Here's Johnny!
The Shining has become one of the greatest horror films of all time. From the surreal ghost-like images to the unyielding graphic of horror violence, The Shining has earned its way into pop culture as being on par with The Exorcist. The mastery of shots and the perfect direction of Stanley Kubrick has helped this film to become one of the most studied films in cinema. The illusions and the Baroque grandeur make The Shining not only a definitely scary film, but also one that is gorgeous to look at, even when horror is unflinching.